There's a famous quote by Stephen R. Covey, and it states that most people don't listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. I don't know about you, but before I actively started practicing and understanding the art of active listening, I always focus on, you're saying something, I'm going to remember this line because I'm going to come back and I'm going to send you with it. It's not the most mature way of communicating effectively, but it is, like everything else that we learn on this channel, how do we understand ourselves and improve so we show up better, not only for ourselves, but also the world around us. So today, imagine a world where every conversation you have is fulfilling, where people genuinely understand and connect with one another. The power of active listening is often a skill that's not paid attention to and yet holds tremendous potential to transform our personal and our professional lives. Hi, my name is Vanessa Wilhelmsen. Welcome to Feminine Spaces. This channel is dedicated to topics that resonate deeply with women from around the globe, delivered in a compassionate and empowering approach. Feminine Spaces, women, relationships, and lifestyle. In today's episode, we'll delve deep into the art of active listening. We'll start by examining the common pain points of failing to listen actively, and then explore the practical strategies that enhance this skill. Now, join me as we uncover secrets to becoming a better listener, one conversation at a time. So what are the pain points to active listening? No, wait, before we talk about the pain points, let's dive into the understanding. Let's understand the frustration and the miscommunication that arises from not practicing active listening. Lack of active listening can lead to misunderstandings, damaged relationships, and missed opportunities. Now picture a scenario where important feedback has been overlooked in a meeting, resulting in a project failing to meet its expectations. Can the same be said of our relationships? I am certain if you think back upon the relationships you've had or the one that you're currently in, there's a point where there was a miscommunication, where you thought something and your partner thought something, and each of you said, oh, they understand what I'm saying without my having to say anything. Neither one of you met each other's expectations, and it turned into a disagreement or an argument or something, some plans falling through or something just not working out for you guys. This is the power and a clear example of active communication when we don't have the skill sets. This is what leads to missed opportunities. This is what leads to damaged relationships and misunderstandings that can clearly be squashed in that moment by just being able to be an active listener and also to express yourself clearly and concisely in your relationships. These are but two examples of consequences that happen from poor listening. So now let's talk about the 3 key points that help us become better active listeners. What is active listening? A definition for active listening could be, it's more than just hearing words. It involves comprehension and to responding thoughtfully and politely to the speaker. I think that I really can share with you guys when it comes to engagement, because that's one of the most important aspects of active listening, is actually engaging. It requires full concentration, its interpretation of body language, and providing feedback. Now, as some of you know, I have a son. He's 28 and he's severely autistic. He lives in a group Buende about 10 minutes from me. I see him 2 times a week. He's an adult living his best life, and I love him so very much. But one of the things that I practice, and I know so much about body language and the art of engagement, is when he was really little. He was diagnosed in 1997. When he was 2, And from then on, it was all about speech therapists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, all the kind of therapists that he needed in order to be able to be the best that he can be with the circumstance that he has. And I remember with body language, it was really interesting because Zachary could not really read things. He was always looking down. So I spent a year with the dutiful fantasticness of his occupational therapist. And I made like the 3x5 cards, and I had facial expressions. And I have a list here so you guys can read it from Berkeley of the 21 facial expressions. So I made 21 face 3x5 face cards with the smiley faces, just with the marker, and then I put down what is the expression. So they are happy, sad, fearful, angry, surprised, disgusted, happily surprised, happily disgusted, surprised, sadly disgusted, fearful, angry, fearfully surprised, and those kind of expressions. And it took us almost a year. So first I started off by having the 3x5 cards, the 2x5 cards with the actual facial expressions. So he got used to it because this is all about practice. It's a skill that we're developing. And then every time I would read his books at night, I would make it a point to sound out the story. If someone was happy or sad or frustrated, in such a way that he could hear the tone, and then my face would be like, oh, I can't believe. So he would see surprise, and I'm like, that's exactly what it is, that's surprise. Or I would say, I'm so angry. And he would go, so you're angry? And I'm like, exactly. So now Zachary is like a master, and he can read you in a minute. And I'm so happy for him that he has developed that skill through repetitive practice over several years. So part of engagement when we're understanding active listening is that you are focused on the person that you're talking to. You're acknowledging, you're nodding, you're asking questions. And a really fun anecdote to consider. And this is a great story about Abraham Lincoln. And you know, he was so known for his ability to listen intently and to focus on what is it that my allies or adversaries are trying to say, and often turning the potential conflict into productive discussions. And any time that we are in a moment with another person and you're active listening, it is someone that it's either a colleague or it's your partner or your children or your family and friends. And it is about being present so many times, and I have found myself doing that, and I have definitely worked on not doing that, is having a conversation with someone and, you know, responding to something really quick. That's one thing that I do with my friends and I when we go to dinner. We go, okay, there might be a phone call at 9 o'clock and I will answer that. But other than that, I'm not gonna use my phone. So then we just put our phones in our purses and we just really focus on the act of listening intently and focused on each other and our spouses, our family, our colleagues, and our friends. Topic 1 was all about understanding active listening. Key topic number 2 of 3 has to do with the benefits of active listening, and it's about building stronger relationships. One of the things that come to my mind when it comes to building stronger relationships, it's always around trust and respect. Active listening fosters trust by showing that you value the speaker's perspective. Whether you agree or not, the intent of valuing somebody else's perspective is so important, and you do show that person that you value them and that you trust and respect them. Another most important thing that each and every single human being needs and wants and thrives for is connection. It deepens a relationship by enhancing empathy and understanding. The benefit of active listening is that thing that we all thirst for, which is to be seen and to be heard. And by being seen and being heard, that means that when you're in active listening, you're actually seeing and hearing the person in front of you. So it's mutually beneficial and it helps you to enhance your connection. Another super interesting fact, studies have shown that couples who practice active listening report healthier, more satisfying relationships. And I can tell you, as a person who's been married 14 years, it makes a big difference on how you engage with your partner. I can tell you at the very beginning, oof, with my hot Puerto Rican temper and my husband who's so Swedish and magical, and even though I was in my 40s when we met for the third time in our lifetime, it's a great story. I'll share it with you later. There's still things that you and I learn, habits that we have learned from our relationships, our parental, familial relationships, and also for the relationships that we have had throughout our lives. And some of those relationships, we continue to pass bad habit through every relationship. And to one point, you say, okay, I don't like the way this feels. I don't like the way it looks, and I want to do something different. And the skill of active listening will really enhance how you show up not only for yourself, but also for the world around you. Now, enhancing professional success is always beneficial by using active listening, but it also encourages collaboration, because collaboration in the workplace is all about active listening. It improves teamwork and problem solving. And don't we all want to improve how we show up for ourselves in our job, that we become better at problem solving and actually creating that collaborative space where we are, just to have a better work environment. The other thing that it really improves, it's leadership, because effective leaders are often great listeners. They can synthesize great amounts of information. They can understand diverse viewpoints, and they can state cohesive strategies, which helps us with deepening trust and respect for one another. It amplifies the connection, and also it helps us with collaboration and really creating a valuable environment in which to work in, and also one in your home environment. And there's a fun anecdote that comes with, Steve Jobs was known for his listening. He was so good with the skill, which really helped him to innovate and by gathering information from his peers and from the insights of his team and his customers to provide a better product. Therefore, showing up better, not only for himself, but also for his team and the people around him and his customer base, which is you and me. The two topics we've discussed so far when it comes to active listening is understanding it and also the benefits of. Now, the third one, key topic, is simple solutions that help you and I improve active listening. And the first one is practice mindfulness. Now, I know we associate mindfulness with meditation and getting centered with ourselves and having clear thoughts and maintaining balance, but it also helps you to become present. When you're mindful and you practice meditation, taking a few minutes every day to just close your eyes and get yourself centered and just become more focused with yourself, it allows you to focus entirely on the speaker. You minimize distractions because you're not thinking about all these other things. You're really focused on the person in front of you and being present. And by being mindful and practicing some type of mindfulness tool, it really amplifies your ability to be present in your communications with any other person. The other thing that's so important, and it's definitely a skill set that has been brought to the forefront and is something that all of us ought to practice more often, is the ability to pause and reflect. Taking a moment before responding to ensure that you have a thoughtful reply is so encouraging, because it goes back to the trust and respect. When we are upset, as so many of us are in our relationships, when you come in hot You're not really thinking about what you're saying. You're just getting in there to either get a jab or to, hurt the person, not intentionally, God willing, right? But you are doing something to get your point across and not really focus on what the other person is thinking or how they're feeling. So just the ability to be able to, when someone responds and says something to you that perhaps is a little colorful or some perhaps not very nice, or it's right in tandem with everything you're discussing, having the ability to pause and reflect really allows you to be very thoughtful in listening to the perspective of your speaker. The other thing that is so important, and I had kind of alluded to it earlier when I was sharing with you my story about Zachary, my son who's severely autistic. And using nonverbal cues is so very important. Maintaining eye contact to show engagement, it's unbelievable. My son always look like this. And every time I talk to him and he's looking like this, I'm like, look at mommy's eyes, Zachary. Look at mommy's eyes. Zachary, where's mommy? Where are mommy's eyes? Look at me. Because the use of nonverbal cues and just having that eye contact with another person helps them see that you are listening and that you are hearing what they're saying. And that's part of mutual respect and trust and connection. The other thing that is so important is nodding and smiling. There's something that's really funny that we do here in Sweden that I don't do in my Spanish culture or in the US of the Americas, is that in Sweden we always go, instead of nodding and smiling like you do in westernized cultures or in the US or you do in Spanish cultures, here in Sweden we always go. And that's our way of letting the speaker that we're so much paying attention to by having eye contact, we're letting them know. Instead of nodding and smiling, we use these gestures to signify understanding and encouragement. It's so funny how, depending on where you are, these wonderful cultural narratives that until you get really immersed in it, you don't really pay attention to it. I'm curious, what is one thing in whatever country that you are from that you use to be able to acknowledge to the speaker that you are listening? What's the gesture that you have? Like we have in Sweden, we always go, that's what we do. I'm curious. Write it down in the comments below. I'm so fascinated about these cultural narratives and the things that we do differently. The other thing, when you're talking to another person, is paraphrase and ask questions. Sometimes when you are active listening or you're actively practicing the skills, sometimes somebody says something and you're so focused on what you want to say in response to that statement that you kind of lose the rest of the conversation and you get lost. So sometimes asking a question and going, I'm sorry, I missed that, I was deep in thought, shows that you are actively listening and you're being transparent and honest with the person, which helps you to connect deeper and helps you to show, it emphasizes trust in one another because you're being honest and saying, I was lost in thought because I had something I was going to come back to you with. And then I was like, no, let me come back and listen. And I lost you. So can you repeat what you were saying? So clarification or a paraphrase is what a speaker has said to kind of confirm the understanding. And it's something that my husband and I use a lot in our relationships when we're having a miscommunication or we're having a disagreement about something. We very calmly state whatever it is our perspective is in that misunderstanding. And then the other person will paraphrase and they will say, what I heard was this and this and this. Is this correct? And then I, as the speaker, can confirm that that is correct. So it confirms the understanding. The other thing that is so fantastic about improving active listening is that it makes you inquisitive. It makes you curious to understand what else is this person? Where is their perspective coming from? So by asking clarifying questions, but also open-ended questions, to encourage further discussions, because sometimes you might look at something from a different perspective, and the speaker is saying something from a completely different angle that you're not familiar with. So by asking clarifying questions or open-ended questions, it allows you to have a more open, a deeper, a broader understanding of one another. So to conclude what we've talked about today, which is active listening, we've defined it, we have a clear understanding, we have been able to use some solutions, and also the benefits of active listening. Active listening is something that we have done from the beginning of time. Throughout history, the art of listening has played a crucial role in diplomacy and leadership. The diplomacy that you and I have with ourselves, with our family, with our friends, and especially with our spouses is so important, because active listening helps you remember, how do we trust and respect one another? How do we amplify the connection? How do we lead deeper by seeing and being heard in our relationships? It's all through the power and the skill of active listening. So from the ancient times of Socrates, who emphasized the importance of active listening when it comes to the pursuit of knowledge, to modern day leaders and our teachers who leverage listening for conflict resolution, because God knows that sometimes in relationships there are some conflicts. And this segment is all about teaching you and I, how do we understand and apply active listening in our everyday relationships and put it in our little toolbox or little tool bag of things that we can use as resources to just show up and be better in our relationships. I trust that you will apply what you learned today, and remember to be open and connect and grow into the best version of yourself. In time, you will see and you will show up better, not only for yourself, but the world around you. Thank you for being here with me in this episode and understanding and benefiting and actively using the power of active listening. Every Thursday, I drop a new video. Subscribe, and in the comments below, share with me what you thought about this topic. And are there other topics that you would like to know more about and understand when it comes to things that are women, relationships, and lifestyle? Feminine Spaces. I'll see you in the next video.